Okay, so we are, well, hello and welcome everybody. Um, Today we're going to be looking at a very specific topic. This is under AZ-104, um, manage identities and governance in Azure, and we'll see how the Microsoft Entra ID kind of works. Um, I'm trying to do these series as I study myself, and the goal is basically just to study together if anybody wants to join the community. And yeah, if anybody, if you feel there's a mistake um, while we go through this, feel free to just put in comments and we can look into it deeper. um, there has been a couple more episodes if you want to check out the channel, which kind of gives you an overview of how Microsoft certifications work, how the Azure certifications work. I have already done the AZ 900 course in the past. This is me going through and trying to see if I can learn AZ 104, and we'll see if we can book for an exam at some point. But for now, let's try and see what Microsoft Entra ID is all about. I'm in my learn.microsoft.com portal. And okay, so let's dive into the introduction part. Microsoft Entra ID is a cloud-based identity access management service provided by Microsoft. Um, so I used to work in Microsoft environment before. What Microsoft Entra ID essentially is when I used to work with all this environment, we had a local AD Active Directory. If anybody who knows a little bit of networking or even anything related to tech support or admin side, you basically know what an Active Directory does. AD is just a local server where you host. It's a directory, so it's a directory of users that works within your organization, and that's how it used to be. That's how the legacy, the old servers in-house user management kind of works, where admins gets to reset the passwords, basically manages the user accounts. Yeah, so resetting passwords, account locking, unlocking, and then there's like OUs and stuff. So yeah, classic old Active Directory, but now everything is moving towards cloud based, and Microsoft has their own cloud directory service, which is basically called Entra ID. It's just a really optimized way of server based AD. Way more things that you can do than AD. So it's AD plus a lot of things. It's really different than what AD is, but it serves the purpose of Active Directory, and it gives you more functionality. So let's see what it's about. Again, yeah. So Microsoft Entra ID is a cloud-based identity and access management service provided by Microsoft. Microsoft Entra ID is comprehensive solution for managing identities, enforcing access policies, securing your applications and data in cloud and on premises. So you can connect AD, your local AD, with Microsoft Entra and Entra ID, and you get to manage both of them. We'll see how that works. I think in future um, in this module, but yeah. Uh, Something just clicked in my mind. So, fun fact: Microsoft Entra ID was called Azure. I think it was called Azure Cloud or something in the past. But it wasn't Entra ID always. Um, Entra ID full name. I think it was just Azure Cloud, Azure AD. So it used to be Azure AD. So just like local AD. So it used to be Azure AD, but it has, again, they optimized it and now it's Entra ID. It's been Entra ID for a while. But yeah, it basically does a lot of things, way more than AD. Um, this Microsoft Entra ID. Oh, compare ID to ADDS here. Microsoft Entra ID as a directory for cloud apps. What's P1, P2? P1, P2, they're basically just licenses. So if you are under Entra ID, um, you can I think you can subscribe to P1 or P2, and then you get depending on subscription you have, you get different services. It's not a huge difference, but I think it's still essential to learn what it is. Whether it be an experience, this model provides you with the knowledge and skills. Okay. um Example Microsoft Enter ID. So um like I said, I've already worked with some of this before, so I have hands-on experience with this. But again, if we go through this and if there's any corrections, feel free to just put it in comments, and we'll look into it deeper. uh, the whole goal is just to learn together. It's Yeah, I'm not a teacher. I'm trying to teach. It's just I'm trying to document this journey, and yeah, trying to build a community. So students should be familiar with accredited ADS. Again, the what I just talked about. Service that provides method for storing data and user accounts, passwords. This makes data available to network users, admins, other devices, services, and returns as a service on Windows Server, referred to as a domain controller. Um, it's part of PaaS, Platform as a Service. Operates as a Microsoft managed directory service in cloud. It's not part of core infrastructure that customers own and manage, not this infrastructure service offering. Um, Resources. Okay. You also have access to set of features that aren't. So we'll just skim through this really quickly. Again, everything is like, again, it's online, and you can dive in. I mean, if you need to clear the exam, you have to take notes and go through this multiple times probably. But I'm gonna skim through this really fast. I've um, went through the model before in the past. So if I feel like any pointers I need to discuss or highlight, I'll just do that, I guess. So you can use Enter ID to provide more secure access to cloud-based resources. Um, here's the features, I guess, that Microsoft Enter ID provides. Configuring access, SSO, managing users group, provisioning users between the orgs. So yeah, you can connect between the orgs. So you can have an Azure account from one entity, from two different entities, and you can kind of connect them, um, providing an identity management solution, irregular sign activity, MFA, extending the AD to Entra, so you can connect them both. Configuring application proxy for cloud and local applications, configuring local access, conditional access for users and devices. We'll need to look into this deeper, but yeah, configuring conditional access for users and devices. Okay, I'm pretty sure we're gonna learn this in deeper, but if not, I'll put note for this, and we'll see what this is about. Conditional access for users and devices. Um, yeah, this was pretty simple. It's just access based on conditions. Yeah, this is a huge topic, so I don't want to dive into it right away. Um, but yeah, Microsoft constitutes. So it's like a little diagram of um, cloud services. This is your AD, or this is your AD and other directories, which is on-prem, and then Azure connects, and this is your connection, self-serve, and single SSO. Okay, I guess you can combine them both, and then you get like these features is what you get. Okay, Microsoft Identity consists separate Azure service. It's mostly elementary form with any Azure subscription, which any usage includes automatically doesn't incur any cost. Its most elementary form, which any new Azure subscription includes, automatically doesn't include any Azure. Microsoft Entra constitutes a separate Azure service. It's mostly elementary form, which any new subscription includes automatically. You subscribe to Microsoft Online Business Service. First, this is Intune. There you go. So if you have subscription for 365 or Microsoft Intune, then you get Enter ID with it for free. Doesn't incur any cost. But other than that, if you want it separately, then you have to buy either P1 or P2. That's basically what it's trying to say. What's the thing about the free tier? Entra, Entra has a separate Azure service. So from all the other Azure services, Entra is a separate Azure service. Yeah, mostly elementary form, which any new Azure subscription includes automatically. The cost refers to as free tier. Oh, so for the okay, so you basically get free tier for Microsoft Entra ID if you have if so this is called an elementary form, I guess, for Azure subscription. Works in elementary form um, where if you buy, it's a separate Azure service, but if you buy it with Microsoft 365 or Microsoft Intune, then you get free tier for it. uh, yeah, if you don't want, and like I mean, and if you want to upgrade that to from P1 or P2, then you can do that. So yeah, there's different tiers. By default, when you create an Azure subscription by using Microsoft account, the subscription automatically includes a new Microsoft ID 10 by default. So anything you subscribe to in Microsoft Azure, you basically get Enter ID with it for free, and you get the free tier with it. Okay, so some of the more advanced identity management features um, require paid versions of Microsoft Enter ID. So yeah, P1 and P2 in form of basic and premium tiers. Some of these features are automatically included in Microsoft Entra instances generated as. Some of these features are also automatically included in Microsoft. Okay. Difference between Microsoft Entra versions are discussed later in this module. Implementing Microsoft Entra isn't the same as deploying virtual machines in Azure, adding ADDS and then deploying some controllers for a new forest and domain. So this is how the classic ADDS work. You have like a forest form of like domain where so it's just like how it works in forest, right? So there's trees and branches and then leaves. So similar to that, there's OUs. In That's how it works in AD, local AD. So you have organizational units where you group users based on departments and stuff. And then there's more things you can do. But um, what this is trying to say is Microsoft Entra ID is doesn't work the same way. Um, Deploying some domain controllers, new forest and domain. It doesn't want that. Microsoft is a different style, much more focused on providing. So there you go. So it's a different service, much more on providing identity managed services, unlike ADS, which is much more focused on on-prem apps. So AD usually focuses mostly on the on-prem apps because it's hosted in a server in-house. But Azure, it's more focused on identity management. Um, and of course we'll learn more about this in detail. Microsoft Entra tenants. Unlike ADDS, Microsoft Entra is a multi-tenant by design. It is implemented specifically to ensure isolation between its individual data instances. So again, if you have multiple accounts, multiple directory instances, um, it's designed to isolate them, which is a good thing. It's the world's largest multi-tenant directory, hosting over a million directory services, instances, and billion authentication requests per week. The term tenant in this context typically represents a company or organization that signed up for subscription. There you go. So multi-tenant means multi company or organization that's multiple subscription to a Microsoft Cloud-based service such as M365, Intune, and Azure. However, from a technical standpoint, the term tenant represents an individual Microsoft Entra instance. Okay, within a server Azure subscription, you can create multiple Entra tenants. Having multiple tenants is convenient for you if you want to test extra functionality in. Okay, so if you want to use Microsoft Entra for testing purposes, you can always create more tenants, and that way it doesn't affect the tenants and it's isolated. And then any given time, an Azure subscription must be associated with one and only one Microsoft Entra tenant. So one subscription um, can only associate with one tenant. One tenant cannot have multiple subscriptions, or one subscription cannot have multiple tenants. So what it means, I guess. Well, let's see. This association allows you to grant permissions to resources in Azure. So RBAC resources in role-based access control to users group and applications that exist in particular tenant. You can associate the same Microsoft Entra tenant with multiple Azure subscriptions. So one tenant can be okay. So if one tenant can be okay, can be associated with multiple subscriptions. So that's good. This allows you to use the same users group application across multiple subscriptions. So that's okay. Same tenant can have multiple subscriptions. Noted. Each Microsoft tenant is assigned the DNS name, default DNS name, unique prefix. The prefix derived from a name of Microsoft account you use to create as a subscription. When creating a Microsoft tenant is followed by on Microsoft.com suffix. Okay, so adding at least one custom domain name to the same Microsoft tenant. DNS domain namespace that corresponding company owns serves as a security boundary. The Microsoft Entra tenant serves as security. Sorry, the camera is in the way. This Microsoft tenant serves as a security boundary and a container for Microsoft Entra objects such as users, groups, and applications. A single Microsoft Entra tenant can support multiple subscription. Okay. So yeah, once you subscribe to Microsoft Entra, it you get an on Microsoft.com account, uh, and that's a DNS. So the whole new like a whole different concept. What this basically means is how the websites kind of work. Websites are supposed to be unique, and what we type in the browser. This goes for all the websites. Whatever you type in the browser, it converts to an IP address, but we don't see the IP address. We only type in words, but the computer does not understand words. It converts them into IP address, and then that's kind of how it works. And of course, it goes way deeper than this, but that's the concept of DNS. So once you sign in, once you subscribe to Microsoft Entra, it gives you an on Microsoft account, basically. So yeah, you get like you get an email ID with your like company's name, um, www dot your company at something dot on Microsoft.com. So yeah, that's kind of how you get it. Microsoft Entra schema. The Microsoft Entra schema contains fewer objects than that of ADDS. Most notably, it doesn't include a definition of the computer class, although it does include the device class. Process of joining devices to Microsoft Entra differs considerably from the process of joining computer to ADDS. So this is you doesn't most notably it doesn't include a definition of the computer class, although it does include the device class. The process of joining devices to Microsoft Entra differs also easily extendable and extensions are fully reversible. So I think what Microsoft Entra schema is, how it works in local ED is us joining our laptops to domain. So once you start working in an organization, all those laptops are managed, um, It can be either manage. It can be managed through the local AD. So where you join your computer to an AD. I can show you quickly what I'm talking about. So actually, yes. Okay. I'm gonna minimize this. So let's say if I had let's say if this was my work computer, I would have probably right click on this. So there's more thing that goes in the background, but how it basically works is you get a computer, yeah, that's new setup. You put your work image on it, or like your company's image, or not. Um, but if you want to connect it to the local AD, you go to your properties, and then you see how it says domain or workgroup. Um, you wanna just basically um, user wizard join the domain. Da, 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 da. So you rename the computer. Uh, I'm pretty sure it was advanced. It was one of those settings where you here. So you change under change name. You click on member of. I mean, you remove this. I mean, so here's where you basically connect the domain from. Uh, that's how connecting the domain works in local AD. But Microsoft Entra obviously offers you mm, much more than that functionality. It says it's really extensible. I don't know what it means by that. I'm gonna have to like look into it. um, and its extensions are fully reversible. So I guess there's limitations in joining those laptops to domain. It usually a lot of times there's like VPN issues. I'm not gonna say there's issues, there's fixes, but comparatively, Microsoft Entra looks like provides way more again functionality than the local ED. The lack of support for the traditional computer domain membership. Oh yeah, so it's expanding what I just I guess said a little bit of what I said, um, and much more. So lack of support of traditional computer domain membership means that you can't use Microsoft Entra ID to manage computers or use settings by using traditional management techniques. So GPUs. So GPUs is what it used to be in the Microsoft in the local ADs. How GPUs works is um, if you have, let's say your computer is connected to the AD, and you have, let's say, unlocking the laptop, right? So your laptop gets locked after attempting to unlock it through your password. Let's say you put your password incorrect, or for any reason you get locked out. The admin will go to their local AD, and then they would unlock it from their side, and then they run a GP update. um, so how it works is once the admin unlocks it from his side, it doesn't automatically go to your laptop even if it's connected to the network or Wi-Fi, right? You have to, so your laptop has to run an update. Your laptop has to say, so yes, sync does run automatically where you make changes in AD as an admin, and every like 12 hours, 24 hours depending on the settings, those changes goes to your laptops. But usually in random cases like password unlocks and much more cases, what happens is you have to, any changes you make from the any changes the network admin makes from his her side, um, you cannot just make that change in AD. It doesn't automatically go to your laptop. You have to run the GP update command in your command shell, and then you basically um, bring update all those settings from AD, to, or you basically sync those settings from AD to your laptop. So you're asking for a manual sync, and that's kind of how it works. But I guess with Microsoft Entra, and if you join your laptop to Microsoft Entra, it's different than that. It doesn't use GPO. Yeah, of course not. Instead, it's service defined concept of modern management. So that's a new concept. Microsoft Entra's primary strength lies in providing directory services, storing and publishing user, device, application data, and handling the authentication, authorization of users, devices, and applications. Effectiveness and efficiency of these features are apparent based on existing deployments of user of cloud services such as M365, which rely on Microsoft Entra ID as their identity provider and support millions of users. So they include the OU class, which I just explained in the beginning. So it doesn't include the OU, which means that you can't arrange its objects into a hierarchy of custom containers. However, because our primary use for GP scoping, you can accomplish equivalent arrangements by organizing objects based on their group memberships. So what this is trying to say is what I just spoke in the beginning, I guess. Microsoft Entra doesn't use the traditional, like, the tree system. It doesn't use the OUs, organizational units, like a classical A, like it works in classic AD. However, in Microsoft Entra, it uses group-based memberships. So you have users, and then you have groups, and you add those users to the groups, and then you put policies in those groups. I'm sorry, maybe I'm too fast. I think um, how it works in Microsoft Entra is, compared to the local AD, Microsoft Entra has groups and users memberships. So how it works is, you create those users, you create groups, you add users to the groups, and you add policies to those groups, and then the users gets those policies. So of course, if you're new to all these concepts, it's gonna take a while for you to get the hang of it. But I guess that's the course, and we just go with it. Um, Objects of the application and service principal classes represent applications in objects of the application and service principal classes. An object in the application class containers contains an application definition. An object in the service principal class. Objects of the application sets of characteristics allow you to define an application in one tenant. Separating these two sets of characteristics across multiple tenants by creating a service. Yeah, this is I'm not too sure on what this is all about. I'm gonna go and phone a friend, ChatGPT, copy paste. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT to explain. I'm gonna make it work for me. Um, in explain in easy language. Okay, so what does ChatGPT say? Um, so ChatGPT says, think of it like this. I don't know if I'm not sure if I should be okay to share ChatGPT screen, but I guess I'll just read it out loud. It's still thinking. Application object is like a blueprint um, for an app. Okay, it defines how the app works. It's loading really slow. It defines how the app works, what permission it needs, and other settings. How the app works, what permission it needs. This blueprint is created in one tenant. Yeah, it's just taking forever to run. Just gonna quickly skim through the other topics. So it looks like the next one is compare Microsoft Entra ID and Active Directory services. Okay. I just don't want to go get ahead of myself just yet. So application object is like a blueprint for an app. It defines how the app works and what permission it needs and other settings. This blueprint is created in one tenant. Okay, that's what an application object is. So objects of application in service principal classes represent applications in Microsoft. And a service principal is like an instance of that blueprint in a specific tenant when you register an application in a tenant. Microsoft. Oh, so when you register an application in a tenant, Microsoft Entra ID automatically creates a service principal for that application. Ah, okay, for that application in the same tenant. So okay, when this contains application definition. Okay, creates the service principal object when you register the corresponding application in the Microsoft. Okay, so application object is basically how the application works. It's like a blueprint of the application. Service principal classes are the instance of when the application was created in that tenant specifically. So yeah, I guess it creates like a copy of yeah. So if you use Microsoft Entra, it creates some sort of like a copy of server principal object, so server principal class, which is instance of the application that you create or define. So define when you register the corresponding application in the, so Microsoft Entra ID creates service principal object, which is like a copy or a copy of the blueprint in that tenant. When you register the corresponding application in the Microsoft Entra tenant, it does it automatically. Yeah, I think that's what I understood, but it probably goes deeper, and then maybe we'll learn it as we go in future. But that's what it is for now. I guess I'm gonna take a pause, and then we'll come back to unit two, but compare Microsoft Entra ID and ADDS services. Um, okay.